Hi, this is Marcel of Marcel on Tech, and today we're talking about budget tablets and why they are getting cheaper but actually getting better. To look at these two forward on, you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference, but from the reverse you might be able to get an idea of what I'm talking about, and I am going to recommend one very, very highly. So let's get into the video and talk about why I think you should consider one of these tablets. Okay, so here we have a hands-on with both the Chuwi HiPad Max and we've now got here the Lenovo M10. Now, these two devices are very, very comparable in terms of their pricing, but there is a big difference in terms of the quality. And what I want to do is make this video pretty quick and concise because first and foremost, there is no competition at the moment to iPads. My go-to tablet for the last probably 6 years is the iPad, and I've got 4 of them at home. And normally we stick with only iPad because they're reliable, battery life is super good, the screen quality is excellent, and of course the ecosystem. But I'm fundamentally a Samsung and Android user. So I wanted to try out which one of these devices is actually the best to go for. And what I wanted to do was compare two devices that are budget but came highly recommended. Now, you may have seen that I've already done a video on the Samsung A8 and what I thought about that. And these two devices I feel are in that competitor range, but in my mind, one of them is actually better than the other. Now, I wanted to just show you what system updates we're up to. They're both on Android 12, and the Chuwi here is on the July security update, whereas the Lenovo is actually on the May security update. So the Chuwi is actually slightly further ahead and indeed has a more powerful SoC, which is the chip on board, and it even has 8 gigs of RAM, which is quite impressive, to be honest. But it has a fundamental problem. Now, to go over it and look at the design first of all you're going to find everywhere else, the money saving has been in the plastic back and the plastic edges. So it's light in the hand for sure. But what they've done is they've decided to spend more money on the RAM and the CPU, but not the screen or the build quality. So you're going to get a little bit more power from this device, but one of the biggest letdowns is the screen. Now, the screen is great in terms of it being clear, but it is not an AMOLED in any way. It's a TFT screen and it's not as good as it could be. It's a little bit washed out and white. And if you're used to iPads or AMOLED screens, this is just not going to do it for you. And that was one of the problems I had with the Samsung as well. Whereas the Lenovo does come with an LCD screen that is just, when you look at it, completely different. Every time I wanted to pick up this device to use it, I always had an issue with the washed out kind of look, and I much preferred having this screen quality from the Lenovo M10. Now, I will get to the pricing and I will tell you which one is which, and you might be surprised at just how good value they are. But what I would recommend as well in terms of the build quality, what I really like is on the reverse, you've got this two-tone effect. Now, this is almost like a sandstone gray here, very well designed, really nice. And this is a metal back as well, so aluminium in this case. Now, of course, you've got a USB Type-C on both devices, and you also get a headphone jack on the Lenovo, whereas not to be found on the Chuwi, unfortunately. So you've got 4 speaker grills over here and here. You've got the power button on the side, which is much more akin to an iPad, and of course the volume rockers here as well. So in terms of screen quality, you can definitely see here that there is a huge difference between this one and if we compare it to the Chuwi, which is, as I say, a more powerful tablet, but unfortunately is just not as smooth and crispy and certainly not as clear imagery wise. Now, it's got a very old school design UI as well. I don't know why it's got such an old style for the app icons. Of course, that can be changed with a custom ROM, but I really dislike that design. Also, loading up things like games took quite a period of time. Now, because this has 8 gigs of RAM, this device is actually faster to load up than this one. But again, because of the pleasure in viewing and the viewing angles, as soon as we go off at an angle on this one, colors start to change. But on the Lenovo, we've got much better viewing angles should we need them, but more importantly, to look at head on, this device is very, very crispy and I really, really like it. So it's a very, very good screen. Interesting aspect ratio in the sense that a lot of these tablets are all very much built for this sort of aspect ratio where you've got them in landscape as opposed to portrait, but they do function. From a software standpoint, one of the problems I have found with this one is that a lot of the apps, and this is an Android problem, not a Lenovo one, is that the apps are just not optimized for being in different angles. So if we take one of the recommended apps for Magic Cleaner, you can see there like that, it just doesn't look very, very smart at all. Now tap to restart to get it into full mode. There we go, managed to get it to blow up into the full size. Now, if you switch over to this way, of course, it goes into that aspect ratio. So it's not very well optimized. And this is actually a built-in app for this device. So again, a little bit old school, a little bit dated, but that is an Android problem, not necessarily just the tablet. But the icing on the cake for these two tablets is that quite simply the value for money. Both of these tablets can be bought for under 200 euros and you cannot be dissatisfied by that. I would absolutely recommend the Lenovo M10. It's got 128 gigs on board as well. It's got 4 gigs of RAM by comparison to the 8 gigs on this side from the Chuwi. But for me, when you have a tablet, you are going to want as good a quality screen as you can get for your money. And it's the Lenovo that wins out 100%. You can also use a stylus on this tablet, although it doesn't come in the box, but you cannot use a stylus on this tablet anyway. So I would highly recommend the Lenovo over the Chuwi. I will put the links to both. The Chuwi often comes out cheaper because it is the cheaper product, but it pays the price because of the cheaper back. Very little of a fingerprint magnet, but it's a plastic back. And the screen resolution is not as good as the Lenovo, which feels very good in the hand, very well balanced and very well built as well. A little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but not the end of the world. Okay, so that would be my recommendation. If you've got one of these, please put a comment below and let me know what you think. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I hope you got some value from this. And don't forget to buy the Lenovo M10 if you're looking for the best budget device available at the moment in 2023. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.